The Courage to Heal says, forgiveness is not forgetting. It's remembering and letting go. And the reason why they talk about remembering is the V word, validation. You need to have that validation for that hurt inner child. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. I think we all have inner child, even if we haven't been abused. That inner child is with us. And sometimes we can't finish up with or go on with the future without finishing with the past. And forgiveness comes into play all the time. And sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and let go, and just let go of it. You're doing it for yourself. So I remember going through this whole thing, where I was, when I was 23 was my first hospitalization. And I was talking to my doctor, and me and my husband were just going over it. We talked for about 2.5 hours, right? And he's like, Kerri, do you think you might have been abused as a child? And like my instant reaction was, well, I had a happy childhood. What are you talking about? Lo and behold, I'm in a safe place, number one. I don't know anybody, so it's totally a biased atmosphere, number two. And this woman was in her room, and she saw me walking down, kind of scared, and she goes, "Oh, come on in here." And that's when she introduced me to the Courage to Heal. And I opened up that first page. It's just about this thick, but I opened up that first page. Do you self-medicate? Do you have a hard time with relationships? Do you feel like you're going crazy? It was about 10 or 12 of them, and I hit every single one. And and it was interesting because after I read that, it was like this puzzle coming together. I could literally almost in my mind see this puzzle coming together. There was a reason why I self-medicated. There was a reason why, all these things. I'm not condoning behavior or making excuses. I'm trying to give it reason. I'm trying to figure it out. And this makes sense to me. And I was able to forgive myself. And I was able to forgive people that did this to me. And like I say, there's different levels, right? We have different levels of hurt and pain. And the worse it is, the more you're going to have to forgive. But certainly in your own time. But I remember this, after that next morning after I woke up with flashbacks, and it was definitely ingrained that I had definitely been abused as a child. But I have to tell you, this was one of the most powerful things that I learned about myself. Because it was craziness. All the panic attacks every day, 4 or 5 times a day, the sleeping, overeating, undereating, and it just felt like there was just no end to it. So I guess besides the forgiveness thing, I wanted to bring this up because it's a very important issue. And one that is sometimes shunned and taboo. Start talking about it and getting people to understand this did affect me this way. And this is my life now because of it. You're validating yourself. Don't think for a minute that anything negative can come out of healing because it is all good. And anything else on forgiveness? I'm trying to think. Beautiful. Yeah. So remember, it's an act of love for yourself. There's a time for it. And forgiveness is not forgetting. It's remembering and validating that word. I want you to remember that word because you're validating. It's like, when we talk about the bug zappers, you talk about your problem, you talk about what's bothering you. That's giving it validation. Well, do you think that little inner child needs to be validated? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was just like I had this inner child inside of me. And the reason why I knew is because one time, and this was effortless, but one of my bouts through the healing, I took about 3 months off of work and just did nothing but heal. I stayed with a really good friend of my mother's, and she went through the whole thing with me. I just love her for that. But she went through the whole thing with me. And so going through all of that, and recognizing that it needs to be healed, it's that important. I took some time off. It was that important. And I can remember the people coming to me saying, wow, you're just like this brand new person. I feel like a brand new person, but you go through all these steps and stages, and then you forgive. But forgiveness is not forgetting, it's remembering where you've gone. And there will come a time where you will be able to really put it in practice. I went through all the stages, the denial, the acceptance, the rebuilding, and even, okay, here's another taboo word, anger. When we hear about anger, does anger have a negative connotation to it in our society? Oh, heck yeah. This anger is not good. Now, I'm not talking about the anger that's out of control and hurting other people. I'm talking about the deep-seated where you pushed it down. The anger that comes up and shows you that there is justice. And you actually get angry when these things happen. So anger is very important. But that last stage is forgiveness. And I can remember after going through all the stages, I remember standing there in my mom's, as an individual, I'm standing there in my mom's kitchen, and I looked outside, and it was this gray, cloudy day. And then it was really interesting, because all of a sudden the sunlight came, and I knew it was time to forgive. And I spent all that time on the healing and did all the healing, but I knew it was time to forgive. And so I took a deep breath and just let it go. It was one of the hardest things. I don't know, between that and the anger, it's a toss-up. Because acknowledging that was really, really tough. But the forgiveness was that last stage. And we all do it at a different time in a different place. So, anyway.
Thanks, Kerri. Hey, I bet another one of those wants to be gone.
Colton, right? Yeah. Okay, too bad. No.
Ooh, 063.
All right. Oh, take two. That's what I say on Halloween time. Oh, take two. My husband's like, just give him one.
Save some for me.
Yeah.
Okay, our next subject is really a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to do this because the whole idea is that they have found that if you will take around 10 minutes every few hours to just take a break, to do something fun, do something that your heart or your soul kind of yearns to do. I love to play guitar, and I love birds. So I love to watch my birds. I don't care if they're sparrows or whatever, but I love it. Deciding what you like to do. You'll find on your handout several different ideas that we've used for our little 10-minute things, and we're going to try a few of them with you right now. The very first one is one where you actually put your hands like this. Everybody do it, okay? And we're going to make a sound, and it's going to sound like home. And when I do this, I sometimes try to think about my heavenly home. You can do whatever you want, but it actually vibrates your body and allows you to get in better shape, as you say. First of all, before we do it, I want you to think, close your eyes for a second, and think, where is my body at, or how do I feel in terms of calmness and tranquility and things like that. Give yourself a number between 1 and 10, and then we'll do this exercise. Ready? And we're going to, everybody do it with me. Home. One more time. Hold it out as long as you can. Ready? You have to take a big deep breath. One more time, home, home. Now, ask yourself, did it change when you began and when you finished? Anybody want to share where you were at tension-wise and then where you were at when you got finished? Yes?
It's definitely at like a good 1 on the tranquil scale, and I at least feel like a good 4 or 5.
Okay, great. Now let's see if we can get you even better. Kerri happens to be a hip hop teacher. And so everybody up. Everybody up. And you can move into that area over
Okay.
there where you can really hip hop with a little bit more freedom.
If you really want to be Janet Jackson, come in the middle.
Okay, here we go.
So this is going to be fun. It's going to take you out of your fun. I guarantee you. This is a bug zapper. This is a bug zapper.
Woo!
Can you turn it up?
That's, I think, oh, yes, I can.
We want you to have fun with this. Here we go. Okay, Now, those of you that were like, ooh, I really have to, how do you feel now? A definite change.
That's one of my favorite things to do too, when I have my little 10-minute thing, and I'll, my dogs will be over here, and I'll be over here, and then I'll put, I like this song a whole lot, or another one, and just, but you know what, they've been remodeling my bathroom, really. I couldn't bring myself to do that, just in case he was going to come upstairs. So I did something else, but, okay, the next thing is, got a story with it. There was one day that I was driving along, it was in the summertime, and I had heard about this technique called growing therapy. And I came to a stoplight, and I just could feel that it was time for me to try out this growing therapy. My windows were unrolled, and I sat there, and I just like went, oh! And the guy that was right next door just went right through a red light. It made me feel a whole lot better. So don't discount grown therapy. One time a guy, when he broke up with me when I was at BYU too, another thing that was really helpful was that down at BYU, those dorms that they have bricks. Oh, it's totally bricks, so. They had chairs similar to these, so I just picked them up, one at a time, just threw them against the wall, and they still survived. But it felt so good. About 6 chairs, I just annihilated them. What about you? What would you do if you had or made an extra 10 minutes? What do you think, guys? What do you like to do? Don't everybody speak at once. I just can't write it all down. Anybody? A couple of ideas? What do you like to do? Yeah.
I actually like to listen to loud music like Taylor Swift.
Loud. Oh, but Taylor's changed her style lately. Do you like the new?
I like the new one.
Do you like the new one? Okay, it's probably good to do this kind of dancing too.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is so exciting about this whole concept is there are so many things you can do in 10 minutes. Or start doing. My granddaughter likes to draw. Well, she can't draw a whole thing in 10 minutes, but she can draw a little bit. And then later on do another. So, loud music. What else?
Read.
To read, okay. What else?
Nap.
Nap?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find that on there too. What else? A 10-minute power nap even, or 15, is amazing. First, I can do that. Some people can't do that. I set my little watch or my clock, and it works. And Gary, what do you do in your 10-minute fun times? You've been listening to us talk for a long time, many years, so you better be doing those 10-minute fun times. What are you doing?
I find myself, you know, one of the things that I do every morning is, I may have said to you before, is I build a bathroom. And in my bathroom, I put a TV. And so I take a bath and watch a TV.
There you go.
That's what I do to relax.
All right. Boy, he's pretty fast in 10 minutes, right? No, just kidding. You can take longer. Okay, any other ideas?
Right.
What?
Right.
Right, yeah. I can understand that.
Is that journaling? Do you journal?
Yeah. Well, I have a blog, but yeah.
There you go.
You like, oh, you've got a lot. Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, that's good. So whatever works for you, take that time, make that time. Realize that, honest to goodness, I can tell you right here and now, if you will take or make that time, and sometimes, you know, you're busy or you're working or this and that, you will have more time. I promise, on my word, you will actually have more time because of the fact that you will be able to relax during that time and you'll be smarter about what you do with your other time. Okay, Kerri, you're on.
All right, let's do it. Okay. This one I love. We've all heard the term prayer, right? Pilot light. How does that interchange with prayer? Your inner pilot light. This is a term I just love to use for the women. I work with the women in the criminal justice system, and I always use this term because a lot of them, to tell you honestly, they feel that they've been shunned from God because they've been through so much. You know, not only do they have, usually that we have found that for the women and the men there, it has started with some sort of trauma in their lives. And so they grow up and they, you know, we do whatever we can to get what we need. You know, if we don't get the love, in fact, I had a really good therapist say, you know, Kerri, we all need love. We all need that within ourselves. And if we don't learn how to get it when we're younger, boy, we'll do anything to get it. And sometimes that takes the form of drugs and alcohol, relationships, unstable relationships. We hang around people that are in drugs, we're promiscuous, we do all these things to get some form of love. And when we don't get it, like I say, we will do anything. We will do anything to get it. And so, anyway, so back to the women. They are sometimes disbelieving, and sometimes we're all like that, right? But the women there, they're disbelieving. And so I changed the word for prayer to your inner pilot light. And we do things, and we do exercises, kind of like what Patricia and I do. We do things to uncover that. And that inner pilot light is where you think. Up here, in here, up here. Usually I say it starts in the gut, because we get what they call gut feelings, right? So it usually starts in the gut. And sometimes that pilot light has been so dimmed over, whether it's a bad relationships or whatever it is, and people, you know, don't accept us or whatever, and it just keeps putting layer and layer and layer upon that inner pilot light. And so when I'm talking about praying, I mean engaging that inner pilot light. Oh yes, this is the visual Patricia got. So can you see how it kind of fits? Yeah, this is our cute little pilot light. So what are some of the themes? I mean, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what Patricia was talking about, the 10 minutes, you know, reading, writing, napping, or whatever. The pilot light can help us overcome anything. And one of the things that I tell the women in the criminal justice system, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I say to them, you know what? I don't care what you did to get in here. I don't care how many times you've been here. You come and we care. And that's all it takes is just for you to show up and be hungry. And be hungry to get your life in order again. Because they've done all these things. And we're creatures of what? Habit. We don't want anything that's unfamiliar or uncomfortable at all. Just kind of like with the hip hop thing, you're thinking, oh, what, you know? And it was a new thing, and hopefully made you feel a little bit better. I don't know, it did me, it always does me. But so we do these things, and it takes time, though. And a lot of times, like 90% of the time, some people can like nip it in the bud, you know, and they're tired and they can't get out of bed, and I'll call a doctor and get me on some good meds, you know, make everything right. But for some people, and most people, it's taken years, you know, and it's just like one little step at a time. So we undo the layers that have been covering our highlight, just one little step at a time. Because a lot of times when they're like, oh, I'm so gung-ho, and this is going to be the last time I come here, and I'm going to do this when I get out. Well, they get out, and they're on their own, and guess what happens? They go back to the old relationships that encourage them to self-medicate. They go back to these old habits. And sometimes it takes a village, you know, especially with these women. They're so scared, and they don't know what they're going to do. If they come out and their boyfriend leaves them and they've got all these problems they want to do, I say go back to that inner pilot light. Because there are things that you can do. What are some of the things, and before I ask you though, in the connection support group that I facilitate, there was a guy that asked me one time, he said, you know, how do you know when you're normal? And what is that? What does that look like? And how do you know when you're normal? And I thought about it for a couple of days. I went home and I thought, okay, normal. And I came back with an answer I think is pretty good, if I don't say so myself. I think it doesn't matter, like, the little quirks in our personality, or the way we look at things in life, or all of that. What matters is whatever brings you light, love, and happiness in your life. That's what normalcy is. Because we start, you know, we're brought into this world, we're having, you know, men are, they might have joy, you hear it all the time, right? Sometimes you don't. But we are actually here to have joy. And I think what Patricia said in her story about the blessing, that someday this would be a blessing to you, or my own experience where one of these days, you know, this will be a great thing in your life. A great thing? Yeah, right. When I was first married, I can remember, I mean, we're talking 5-6 panic attacks a day. Sleeping the other times when I wasn't having a panic attack, and somehow I was able to hang on and go to work, and then I'd have my break, go to the bathroom, have my panic attack, and get back in to the swing of things. So I can remember thinking to myself, there is no way this is fair. You know, I was a complete mess, and all my friends I graduated from high school, if they were getting married, having children, getting on with their careers, there is no way this is fair. And it hasn't come just all of a sudden, voila, you're better, you're all great, you know, everything's great. It didn't happen like that. It just happens like over the last, like I say, you know, I don't remember not having illness. I remember being suicidal when I was 7 years old. So it's been a long process, but you know what? I feel joy. And I feel joy every single day, and it's not like I don't, you know, there's sometimes I have my panic attacks even still to this day. But for the most part, I feel joy in my life. And, you know, if us, not us, I mean, it can happen to anybody. And like I say, these women that I'm so humbled and excited on that I'm able to teach them, they will be able to, I just say to them, one of these days you will be able to do something great with this. And they've all got stories. Oh boy, they have stories. It's amazing. But anyways, that's the inner pilot light. And do something good. Do something good in your life. One of the things I love to do, and I've set my mind on this, because I know what it's like, you know, I have that little smile and somebody acknowledging me and saying hi, even if I didn't know them. So I have this thing I do. Whether I'm at Smith's, Walmart, the mall, if I like, you know, and I see somebody that's just kind of, you know, and I don't really know what they're thinking, but I just take that chance and I say, how you doing? Hi, how you doing? And just walk on. I love doing that because some people, I know, they go, oh, hi. You know, it's like someone notices me. So it's kind of that, and it's kind of that point, and those are just the little teeny things we can do. And like what we're talking about, the last stage, the very last, is service. And it can be in any form you want it to be. If you're just looking at somebody and just saying, hey, is it okay now? Are you okay? Or calling and talking to a friend. I get people that call me, and sometimes I get so tired, but I know they need someone to listen to. And I just feel so happy and so excited that I can do a job that I just absolutely love. I only have an associate degree, associate in science degree, but the rest of my education comes from the School of Hard Knocks. And also 25 years of therapy, I've learned a few things, and so I can give people some guidelines. Now I can't, of course, they have to go to a licensed clinical psychologist to get the actual stages and steps onto healing. But the thing that's great is I get to talk to them and I get to touch them and say, I don't judge you for 1 second. And I know you have it in you to heal, because we all do. And if I get that much in, I feel happy. I'm in a job where I love, and like I said, I don't know what you guys plan on doing or what but if you want to go into helping other people in this way, it's such a huge blessing. And you might think, oh, I don't know about that. And throw it around, take it around. But it is a real huge blessing. And you can do it with anything. Like before I was working for NAMI, I was a waitress. And I said to my mom, like Gary was saying, who was the executive director, and I called her up, I says, Mom, I know I'm serving people in a way, getting them their food again with a smile and, being as nice and cordial as I possibly can. I says, but it's just not cutting it for me anymore. And that's when she opened the position as a mentor, peer specialist, or whatever. And that's what I do now. And I'm doing what I love, and I'm loving what I do every single day. And that can happen for anybody.
Thanks, Kerri. This next idea is a very simple idea, and yet it can be a huge deal as for something that can help with stress. And it's a ponder page. I learned this when I was getting better from that first depression. Like if somebody was to ask me to do something, I was, as you know, I was really stressed about almost anything. And I got to the point where the people that I knew close, I would say, well, let me put it on my ponder page. And back then it was a piece of paper. And now it's in my phone and on my computer. But it is here where I put things that I'm just thinking about. Like, should I, even things that, well, let's see, just to give you an idea. In my ponder page, I have like one thing about a diet idea that I'm just thinking about. I have not committed to it. I'm just thinking about it. And I have an idea about what to do about my grandson, and I watch him once a week because it's become difficult during that time. Not quite sure what to do about that. And other ideas that come to me that I'm not ready to act on yet, but I just want to think about. Kerri mentioned forgiveness. And that's another good thing to put on a ponder page is maybe if you're upset at somebody, put it on your ponder page. Like my son has been on my ponder page more than what I want to admit. But oftentimes, what's so exciting about it is the Heavenly Father and the Holy Ghost can work on me in off times. And oftentimes, when I pray, I include this ponder page as part of my prayer, and I start finding answers. Oh, yeah, I think I'll do that. And, oh, maybe this is a good idea. And so I really am a proponent of the ponder page. At this point, we have a choice. We can either just kind of finish it up. We've got a fun song. And finish it up, or I can teach that technique that could help them on their tests. I don't know what time your class ends.
Well, the class ends in about an hour, but
okay.
We need to discuss some other stuff too. So
okay, so we'll just do our regular ending then. So, okay, let's see, on our last page, if you'll look on your handout, you will find a song too. I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying, you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaking, but I gotta keep trying. You guys that know this, come on. Gotta keep my head held high. It's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes you're gonna have to lose. Thank you. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. I think I'll leave it there with them. I with my guitar is all anyway, it is the climb, and we can do it, and we can reach it. And with these extra little ideas, sometimes just one thing can make all the difference. And that's why I brought, to end with, this story. We have vacuum, a Hoover vacuum. And yesterday I was vacuuming and it would not pick up anything. And not only that, but it was so rude that it actually shut off completely. Wouldn't even make any noise. And so today I called the Hoover representative and said, you know what are we going to do? I mean, this vacuum's only a year old. So he guided me through how to take the hose off, completely off of it. And I was able to get a clog, a big old clog inside of it, out. And the vacuum works just great now, and I love it. And I thought, how oftentimes in our lives we just need to talk to somebody who knows a little bit more. Then they can help us take the clog out. They can help us to learn how to do cognitive therapy. What I was going to teach you is called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Training. And it can be found on our website. Kerri and I have a website called beatingblues.com. So I would suggest, we've got a Facebook too. So if you go on there, it'll teach you that technique, and it will help you with your test at Groundless. And so that's just another one of those unclogging, make your life work better kind of ideas. So, go ahead. Yeah. I'm kind of dumb myself. Da-da-da-da.
So, okay, so just one last thing, certainly not least. How many of you have heard of NAMI Utah, the National Land Summit? Holy cow, really? Nobody? I know, I'm sitting there talking to my boss, and like, whenever I go speak, I ask them, not enough people know about NAMI. So we have great programs. I'll tell you about our support groups first. We've got one called Family to Family, and this was about 30-some odd years ago. Families got together. They were very distraught because of the HIPAA laws. They couldn't help their loved one with the treatment. Well, they found these loopholes to go through. And what was just a few people in a living room is now the thousands and thousands that NAMI has helped all over the state and all over the country. So NAMI, that's kind of, it started with Family to Family, and then they developed what's called Bridges. And Bridges is for the person with the illness. And these are both educational as well as emotionally supportive groups. So everybody that comes in gets a little booklet to read along, and they educate on all the different illnesses and you get the gift. They educate on that. How to cope, treatment, medications, problem-solving skills, spirituality, advocacy, chemical dependency, all of those fundamental things. And then we have what's called connection. And I was telling you that's the one I get to facilitate, and it's really wonderful. It's been a real huge blessing to be able to do that. So another plug-in for becoming a social worker. So, and then we also have a program called Hope for Tomorrow, and that is somebody from our group goes to junior highs and high schools and educates people on mental illness. Yes. We love that. Because there's so many problems, right? The bullying and it's just it's crazy. So we try to engage that. And then we do have another program that's called Prevention by Design. And what it is, it's a suicide prevention program. Kimball Gardner is in charge of that, and he does a wonderful job. He goes out now looking and to stop this epidemic from happening. How many of us, and don't raise your hands, have sometimes just felt like, man, I just want to die, even if it's only one time? To have that acknowledged and shared can be a huge relief. In fact, I was reading a book called Healing the Child Within, which is a wonderful, wonderful book if you're ever interested and curious. Healing that child within. And you know what? It's a book about this big, and over what I saw when I read was saying he kept emphasizing sharing how you feel. Because the shame comes when we're in ourselves and we think we're bad and that we're wrong. We have all these messages that bombard us, right? The prevention by design in any kind of situation that you're in, we need to share. We need to share. Sometimes it does take a village, even for one person. And if we all recognize that, we can stop. I mean, it's really sad, you guys. The suicide rate in Utah is, whoa, very high. It used to be it was one person a day in Utah commit suicide, and I think it's even higher than that now. And this is an epidemic. This is something that really, really gets me. And really, I've told you my story. This is one of the things that I would just love to see turn around. Because I don't know what I would have done if it hadn't been for that guy saying, come over here and let us love you and care for you and help you. And sometimes that's all we need, is someone just to take a little bit of notice of what we're going through. And it applies to every single person, I have this rule, I don't even squish bugs, even the littlest insect, So anyways, that's not me. And I just wanted to leave you with the fact that anybody can heal. One of my hospitalizations was at the Utah State Hospital. And I had been there for about 6 months. And there was a woman there, and I had felt just this connection. I felt so bad for her. She was probably in her early 50s or whatever, and she had these eyes that kind of bugged out, and she was shaking, and she, really couldn't walk well. And it was just really sad that she would tell herself jokes to herself and then laugh. And it was really, really sad. But I said to the nurse, I turned to her, she'd been there for 8 years. I turned to the nurse and I said, what about Sheila? Okay, she's been here 8 years. There's no hope for Sheila. And I was like, I just felt this empathy. And whenever somebody says, oh, she'll never change, she'll never, it just, deal with my pilot life. So anyways, 2 years later, and the medication that I'm on, I have to get a blood draw. I'm on medication, yes. 2 medications that I could not live without. And my husband knows that there's just no way that I could carry on with my life without those medications. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and this woman approaches me. I'm like, gosh, she looks so familiar. And I came in, it was Sheila. And she had changed her hair color, she had lost weight. And I said, Sheila, oh my gosh, it's you. And she goes, I'm out of the hospital, isn't that great? And even her tone of voice and everything had just changed. I'm out of the hospital, isn't that great? And that is fantastic. And we're hugging and we're having this, and I just thought, anybody can change. And even I have to have faith in the women in the criminal justice system, that they can change, and we all can change. And if we just come together and see that as a society, we can make this world that can sometimes be out of control and sad and depressing, we can make it livable and happy. So, just a last thought. Anybody can change.
Questions for the two ladies?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, is there anybody that has questions for the two ladies? About anything that you've heard,
We're
or
very open.
things about their illnesses, whatever?
I'm on medication too.
One of the things that's different in Kerri's case than like, Patricia's, both of them have suffered with depression or whatever. But one thing you haven't, touched on, Kerri, that maybe would be good for them to hear was
Is it a
you've
big
had,
whammy?
you've had delusional things.
I was gonna say, the big whammy. Do you want me to tell them about that?
Sure.
Okay, as long as you're okay with it, it's time for it. Yeah, now I told you my stories are kind of long. You guys are like, oh. So anyways, yeah, so this is a pretty interesting story. So growing up in a very religious, staunch religious family, and feeling that pain of mental illness, this is kind of where my next step was. I can remember upon graduating from college, everything that I was involved in, dance, drill team, extracurricular activities, whatever, was going to come to an end, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And it was really interesting because I could go to school, go in with and do this. It was the first day of class, and I did an in-class creative writing essay. The guy got an A on. Then I'd get back out to my car and drive to the store, and people were following me and chasing me. It was like this two double-sided thing that was happening anyway. So double personality, I guess, is a better way to put it. So this one personality that was dealing with all the pain. And I can remember sometimes this pain was so great. I remember just laying in my bed and I could see, again, the sparkles in the ceiling, and my light was shut off, and I don't know if the sparkles on the ceiling reminded me of stars in the darkness or something, I don't know. But I had a fixation with that, and my fists were clenched, and I was just like, the pain that I was experiencing was like having a brick wall just come down on my chest and my whole body, and I could not move for seriously like 2 or 3 hours. I would stay there like that, just not knowing what to do. So, and not even ever hearing of mental illness or a psychiatrist or a hospital, never ever even going there. I thought somehow I have to process. If I'm going to survive, like we all need to find a way to survive all, right? So the best thing that I could think of was that God must be very disappointed in me. I thought he hated me. He wouldn't accept me. So what did I do? Everything in my power to get him to love and accept me. I just wanted the pain to go away. I can remember, I get up for my morning jog, my 6 o'clock morning jog, a couple of miles. God, if you want me to go a mile, I'll go another mile. If you want me to go back, anything. And I usually ended up going an extra mile for God.